So you want to be an it girl?
Hi guys, and welcome back to Confessions of a Wannabe It Girl. Today I am joined by Josie Andrews. Josie is a director and writer, and we could not be more excited to have you. We've worked together in the past, and we are going to talk all about directing today. Welcome, Josie.
Thank you so much for having me. I love the pod and I love you and everything you do. So just happy to be here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Yeah, when I met you, God, this was before the pandemic. I was so attracted to your style work because it was so girly, but also had like a little bit of grit and honestly balls to it. And there couldn't be a better match for this podcast.
Oh, I really appreciate that. I loved listening to the episodes with Isabel, particularly because I was like, oh, it brings me back to USC student films, beginner films. It's fun. Yeah.
So much fun. All right. So Josie, there are so many different ways to become a director. I mean, we talk about this all the time, that no road like is the same and stuff, but like what made you want to be a director? And can you tell us a little bit about your path of becoming a director?
Totally. I had, obviously a unique path to becoming a director. I grew up performing in theater. I was acting in like regional theater and tours and all that jazz back east where I grew up in New Jersey. And then I actually came out to LA to USC as an acting major. And I had an interesting undergrad experience because I didn't go to real high school. I did online school from like second or third grade on. And so my USC undergrad experience was more like my high school experience in the sense of like social life and personal growth and trauma and like all those high school things like kind of happened to me in college. So I left acting altogether and I transferred to the film school. And I was in cinema studies, but I like still really, really craved that BFA, MFA type experience. Like I kind of wanted that conservatory. And so I applied to the production program, which is like the BFA program, and I didn't get in. Then I applied again and I didn't get in. And I applied again. I was trying to like transfer into it. I think I literally applied 3 times, and, like didn't get in undergrad. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to let them tell me no one more time. Like I'm going to apply once to the grad school and then I'll just like walk away and like leave them alone. And that was actually the time I got in. So I just graduated in May and altogether I was at USC 8 years. It felt like 20. Everyone says I'm basically like a professional student, and please forgive student debt. That's all I have to say.
I love it. Wow, I didn't know that part. I love that also because I think a lot of times we look at things and we're like, oh, if we hear no once, like walk away. But you were so consistent and pushed through, and like I just love that you kept going. Like you didn't care.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I've heard that story with a lot of people with USC. You just have to like kind of keep trying. I don't know. I think I do believe in fate in a way that like sometimes we know our path, and like I something was telling me that was like what I was supposed to do. Yeah. So I'm glad I didn't give up.
So tell us about like what made you want to be a director, and specifically in film, coming from like a theater background. Like it's not like totally different, but they are really different in the terms of like technical stuff.
Definitely. I always had like a little bit of a tendency like to want to direct. Like this is bad, but like sometimes when I would be in a show, I would feel like lack of direction, or I'd feel like I'm like, oh, you know what should be done, and like I was always like in my head walking that line of like, should I go tell that actor that thing? And like, no, like probably not, but I really wanted to. And so I think I'd always had that kind of like urge. And then when I like started moving away from acting, I think what appealed to me so much about directing in the sense of working with actors is like kind of getting to help an actor through like a vulnerable moment, or like I stole this from my favorite teacher and like idol director, Barnett Coleman, but he always says that like the actor like, they don't need you to give them line reading. They don't need you to like, they know the character better than anyone. So they don't really need you for that, but like, they can't see themselves. They need you to serve as their mirror. And so I think as the director, you can just be there as their mirror. And that's something that I see like the value in, and since I used to act.
Yeah. See, I think that's so valuable that you come from like an acting background, because I've found that so many directors don't know how to talk to actors. They'll just be like, oh, can you do that more? Okay, more what? Like, or like, you know, or they'll be like, can you say it like this? Give a line reading. And like that literally, it shuts, I mean, tried to get better, but it will kind of shut me down. And so it's like coming with that unique, not unique, but like coming with that background, really, it's such a positive to understand what they're going through on the other side.
Yeah, I feel like I hear other directors give unactable notes a lot, or I'm like, if I was in that situation, like, I mean, I took so many acting classes that literally like touched on like what to do when you get an unactable note, and then like, oh, you can spin it and try and ask like another question, or like, oh, like if you don't get it, like they don't get it either, just make a big change so that they see you can like make a change. And like, I mean, I get it. Not everyone communicates clearly, but I was like, isn't that kind of crazy that like acting classes are literally teaching how to get around like directors who don't know how to communicate? So I think that also was something that I kind of wanted to like step up and try.
What is something that you wish actors knew about directors?
They often don't know what they want, one, and two, they often don't know what's best. And I think I'm such a people pleaser, and I'm like, I'm working
Me too,
on
I'm working on it. Recovering people pleasers are welcome here. Yeah.
Big recovering. And especially when I was an actor, you're just like, oh my God, I have to be what they want. I have to like do what they want. And like often what they want is like way worse than, and I'm talking about me as a director too. Like often what I want is way worse than what the actor wants to do, or whoever, anyone else on set. Like the great thing about film is it is so collaborative, and like it's not just like your vision being realized. It's like you and a lot of people coming together, working super hard to make an idea turn from your idea to our baby, like our product. And so I think know your value as an actor, like know that like your opinion matters, like who you are, like you were cast to be there because of who you are. And so bring that all, and don't be afraid to challenge them. Like if something doesn't make sense, like don't just do it because like, don't make that cross because you have to go over there. Like if it really doesn't make sense to you, I'd say challenge them, because, and it's so scary because you just want to be like easy and perfect and blah, 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 blah. But I think your work will suffer if you just like do as they say.
Oh, I love that, because I think it's so empowering for people in so many different jobs or types of forms to say like, you are there because of who you are as whatever position you were holding, and like to push back if you truly believe something is off. I don't feel like that gets said enough to like our generation, maybe because we feel like, oh, we just have to appease. Like, don't be an asshole, but like there is a gentle line of like, no, I truly believe something's off. Like this even happened to me. I was talking to a friend about a reel I wanted to post, and she's like, it doesn't make sense to me. And I was like, well, I don't really care. I just want to try it. You know, like you just have to, sometimes you know what you creatively bring, and we have to be able to share that.
It's so true. And pushing back is honestly really hard. Like it feels hard. It feels scary. Like we're always as actors and like as a new director, like we're always at the bottom of the totem pole, and there's always going to be someone we're answering to. But yeah, I think our work always suffers when we don't. I always regret like when I get to the point where I can't fix it or I can't change anymore. And I'm like, why the fuck did I not say something?
I couldn't agree more. There's been so many different, even like entertainment industry gigs where I've wanted to push back and I haven't, because I've just been like, well, I'm just going to do what I'm told. And it really like, it hurts my like ego. Like it makes me feel, I've been talking about this a lot. Like if you're putting in a 10 effort, acting that way can make you feel like a 7 when you know you can give a 10. So it's like, yeah, own your worth there.
Yeah, and it gets hard too later when like, I mean, in the case of an actor, like having to defend yourself, having to be like, oh well, like the performance is like that because they wanted, because they blah blah blah. And like obviously that's like always going to be true with a collaboration. But like at the end of the day, we have to own our shit. And it's like, nah, I did that. Like
No,
that
I
was
did
me.
that.
So
Yeah. I also think there's always, especially in an actor director, it's like, okay, well, let me try it this way once, so it's in there, and then we can go back. Like,
yeah. And if you you don't even, and you do not want to work with people who don't want to give you that one take. Like if they can't give you like one take, then like you better than that. Walk away.
yeah, and I mean, vice versa of the actors. Like if they can't give the director that one take that they want to do, like why are you a good it's a relationship. Why are you a good collaborative pair?
Totally.
So I want to also kind of like upend that question. And like, we talk a lot on this podcast about things people don't realize about the entertainment industry. If you could say something to like the general mass that like, I mean, people think that directing and movies are just like magic and they just appear. Like, what's like one myth you would like to like debunk about directing for us?
Well, I mean, certainly auteur theory. Like if people thinking like director is like the vision and it's all about like realizing the vision. Like, I mean, sure, maybe in some cases, but like, I mean, I produce, like I do all these different things. And like, I think if everyone's like tooth and nail to just like realize the vision instead of like talking and everything being a conversation, like, I don't think that's ever going to be a successful project, at least from what I've worked on. But I think another, that's within the industry, but kind of to the general public, I think what would be the most surprising thing is when you walk on a set, it's like, what is the director doing? Like, what value are they adding? Because sometimes, I mean, think about it, like, they're not the expert in anything. Like, they're not the actor. They're not the one, like, they're not the DP. They're not the gaffer. Like, they are technically a generalist, like, directing a bunch of specialists who know their field, like, way better than the director does. And so it is kind of crazy to think that, like, to be like, oh, like they answer to me. It's like, why the hell would they answer to you? Like, they're the specialist. And so I think kind of remembering, when you challenge, like, what is the point of the director? I think the director is the liaison. Like, the director is just like the translator between all these different departments, to make sure that they're all like striving towards the same artistic vision. And not to say they're all striving towards the director's artistic vision, but it has to be one cohesive like piece that you're all working on. The gaffer can't be lighting for Birdman and the DP shooting like Lady Bird. So it's like, it's keeping everyone moving in tandem, I think, is like what the director is there for. But it is true. It's funny when you think about like, what exactly is the director doing? And I think if they're not adding that value and like listening and taking it all in, then they're literally doing nothing. So
what are they doing? So it is so interesting. The more time I've spent around the entertainment industry, I realized it's everybody telling somebody else what to do and how to do it, and then we don't know what you're doing, and then it's wild. It's just nothing but like delegation. Like I said to a producer friend of mine, he was like, yeah, no, like I thought becoming a producer, like I was going to stop feeling like an assistant, but like you just continue having to move up being that kind.
I was going to say too, especially if like you're the type to be like a perfectionist, which I am, or like you're the type to be like a people pleaser. Like I don't delegate nearly enough. And that's also something I have to get better at, I think. Like I have this fear that like if I don't do it, it won't get done right. And so then I try to do everything instead of like appropriately delegating what should and needs to be delegated, and everyone fails. So do you ever find that, or are you comfortable delegating?
It's so interesting. We're about to really be very theater nerdy, and my friends that are going to listen to this are going to make fun of me. But like I was thespian president in high school. Like this is how deep this trauma runs. And I didn't delegate, and it was the best place for me to learn that you have to delegate. And it's weird because I have two kind of mottos. Like, you have to let people be in charge of themselves in the entertainment industry, and like have expectations that that they will do it the best that they can. But at the same time, my like anxiety will never let go of the catastrophizing. So like, you know, I'm always a little bit, especially in like production situations or acting situations, a little catastrophized, but like I'm trying to always let the person go. But yeah, that first position I ever had, I did not delegate. I did everything myself. And I was 16 or 17, maybe I was 18. I don't know. I was it for like 2 years in like two different kind of ways. And it was a wake up call. Like, you have to let people do other shit. But then at the same time, like, one of the mottos, like, I hold so near and dear to my heart is like, if you see a problem and you want it fixed, you can't ask somebody else to fix it. You have to fix it yourself. And like, that's how I felt about my sorority. Like, there were things like, I was like, oh, I see these holes and I really want this thing to be better. And like, I can't just go complain to somebody. Like, they're busy too. Like, you have to be willing to take that on. So I have both mindsets.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I think to be honest, like the question under the question or the problem under the problem might be like, you're only as good as who you work with. Like, right. both above and below you in all of these situations. And yeah, I mean, picking your collaborators, both as an actor, as a director, as a DP, as a PD, as, you know, PA, as anything. It's like, right. That is really going to make or break you on any project.
No, I completely agree. And you even hear people talk about, you know, this is a happy set, or like the people really like working together. Like, you know, the Emmys were last night. Like clearly the cast and crew of Ted Lasso, they all like each other. Like, it's very apparent. And like, it's a big deal when you're spending that much time and that much stress with someone.
Yeah, it's true. And I definitely, I feel like the sets I'm happiest on is when it like reminds me of times in theater, because like, that's the closest I've ever felt to like coworkers and collaborators, when, you know, you're on the road with someone for like 2 years, or you're in a show with someone for 6 months, and it's like day in, day out, you do like the same track with them every day. And that always felt very much like a family. And I'd always be crying on stage at closing night. Like, it didn't matter what the show was or anything. I'd always be like, it's over. And yeah, so I know a film was like a really good camaraderie and good family when at the end I like feel that same pain. I'm like, oh yeah, we're back. So
oh God, it's like a summer camp vibe. Like, you're like, oh, this special time. I loved sleepaway camp.
What camp did you go to?
It's canceled now. So I'm like, I'm going to say this. I don't really care because I was a child and nobody can blame me, but I went to SeaWorld camp.
SeaWorld. Oh, oh my God. That's funny. In San Diego?
In San Diego, like sleepaway SeaWorld camp.
Low key as a kid though, I'd be like, that slaps. That sounds super
fun. Really, really cool. But yes, very cancel worthy now. So
we're gonna find photos of you like in SeaWorld.
I know.
That'll be your downfall.
I'm like, that's my downfall. I mean, if that's my downfall, like people have done worse. I don't know. But yes, I did love it. So like, so many people talk about film school. I think the idea of like, oh, you're going off to LA and you're going to be in film school is like really blown up. What is film school actually like?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm sure everyone said this and it's totally true. Like, you can find any path. Like, you can go to film school, you can not go to film school. It's not, I think the myth of film school is like, you graduate and you have like a higher paying job, or like you skip the queue. Like, you're gonna be there. No, fuck no. Even I went to 8 years of film school. Like, no one in the history of Earth has done 8 years of film school. And like, my sister in those 8 years became a doctor. Like, she's a fucking doctor. And like, she's doing a residency right now at Brown. And she would always, like, God bless her, say to me like, oh, well, like, you're getting your master's, like, you're getting your MFA. Like, when you graduate, like, you'll make more money, or like, you'll like, you know, you'll have a higher title. And I was like, no, like, no, like I'll be out here like in these streets PAing as well. Like we're all like minimum wage, baby. And so, yeah, I think that's a myth that people don't always understand, that like it doesn't gain you any of that. But what it does give you is like network, which USC was amazing with. And I mean, if you're really gonna like drink the Kool-Aid and just be like, I'm here to learn, like I'm here to make mistakes, like it gives you a space to do that. So I think if you have realistic expectations of what film school is going to give you, it's extremely valuable. I don't regret like a single one of my 40 years at USC, all perfect. But I think what it really taught me as well, in that kind of like safe school environment, is how to give and take notes. Like you are getting so much feedback from so many different professors and colleagues and all these things. And the worst directors kind of are the people who take 0 notes and the people who take every note. And so, and I certainly erred more on the side of every note, because I was like, oh, like, you know, someone said it, it must be true. And like, yeah, that's true. Like listen to people, but the truth is you need to hear the note under the note. Like, because this isn't working, you don't need to add a car crash. Like you need to wonder like what's missing from the scene. You don't need to take the suggestion, but you need to wonder why the suggestion was given. And like, I'm still working on that. But I think the people who hear the notes under the notes and from a, you know, variety of people are the people who move forward.
I mean, I feel the same way about, I have a BA in dance. Like I have a BA in dance. You'd think like, oh, this maybe gets me ahead in the dance. No, I mean, I don't even really want to dance anymore. Like
president of the dance world.
Right. It's not a pinnacle. Like, I mean, it still comes down to like your grit and your hustle. Like, yes, I think these colleges can provide great networks of people, like, but they're still like, you're still at the end of the day, you're just going to be left with a bunch of skills and out in the streets and figuring it out.
I love that you have a BA in dance. I actually didn't know that. What?
Oh yeah.
Now that your life looks so different than it looked like the day you graduated undergrad, what do you keep with you every day in that education?
Wow, that's such a good question. It's so interesting. I think the best thing that my BA has taught me, which has been so weird, is a work ethic. That's not the weird one. The weird one is that I can write and talk about art really well, I think. Like, because, you know, we were asked to do that a lot. Like, I recently directed a short film.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
I'll send it to you. But, you know, it was my first try and whatnot. But like I was sitting there writing the cover letters, writing the stuff, and it was so easy for me because I knew how to write and I knew what the thought was and I know what the meaning was to me. And like, it was really easy for me to put out with it. And like, that's the best thing that like dance school really taught me, is that how to speak from an educated space about what you're doing, not just like, you know, because honestly, this was something so great about what the teachers taught us there is, you know, they're going to be like, somebody's going to be like, do you have a plan B? And like, they really taught us how to like talk about that. And even though ironically, like I did have a plan B, and like, even though I don't really know if plan A was always to be a dancer for me, like it was just so empowering to know how to speak about what you're doing. And I feel like that would carry on for me if I became an agent, I became a manager, I became a podcaster, like that, it would have gone with me no matter what I ended up doing, you know?
What do you say to people? I love that you said that. What do you say to people now when they say like, what's your plan B?
Well, my plan B is the plan. My plan B is my plan A, is honestly what I would say. And like, you know, I say that like, I'm really focused on affecting change of feeling and thoughts through modern media. And like, I mean that through the podcast, I mean that through acting. Like, I don't care, in my opinion, like, I don't care if I changed your thought in that one moment to make you laugh. I don't care if I changed your thought in that moment to something gravely, importantly political. Like, as long as like we are affecting change through media and stories, like, I just think it's important to put more stories out there, because like, I know growing up as a kid, like TV was so insanely important to me. because it affected how I felt and it affected my way of how I thought I could be or shouldn't be. And like, it's just a knowledge vessel. So like, that's why I think it's so important to be that TV and podcasting and directing and all of those things are so important. It's like, we're just expanding knowledge out there for people.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, that's so beautiful. I agree in the sense that like plan B is plan A, because like, I don't know. I've never seen the world so black and white. And so I've been living in LA 11 years now. And I'm just like, babe, like I'm camping the fuck out. Like 11 years later, like I'll still be here, like doing whatever, like back at USC, getting a PhD. Like I have no idea, but I'll just be here, like trying. And I think, if you keep waiting and you keep trying, like it will happen. Who knows what it is? And I think we're constantly redefining like what success means to us. But as we were talking earlier, but yeah, I think there doesn't have to be a plan B. You just have to live with like an open mind and an open heart and stay open to like all the opportunities that come to you and like what you could do with them.
And that's why I think being an artist is so entrepreneurial. It's like, you have to be, you know, willing to look at all the different things. I remember when I graduated, I said to my dad, like, you know, as long as I get to work in the entertainment industry, like I'll be happy. Yes, there's no fucking secret that I want to be an actor, like, or I am an actor. I'm not even in a wannabe stage. I am an actor. Like I work at it every day, you know, but like, as long as I'm in that world, like I'm happy. And like, that is growing you in your career, like no matter what, like if you're just a sponge to everything around the thing you're obsessed with, like you will continue to improve.
100%.
I love it. So on a kind of like darker note of the industry, we would be really remiss. I bring this up a lot because I do think it's important to talk about that film industry can be sort of like a boys' club. And also like, you have a girlier style to, girly isn't even the right word. It's like female approach to your work. Like, how do you navigate this formerly boys club trying to change space with also on top of it, your style?
Yeah, I think my style is kind of like what makes me as a director. So I think the more I lean into that, the just kind of like more things make sense to me. And I definitely think this is the moment for like authenticity in Hollywood. So definitely not trying to be anything you're not, like never going to direct like a Scorsese film or whatever. So I'm just not even going to try. I'm just going to do me. But in the sense of dealing with the boys club aspect of the industry, it's funny. I think misogyny is just like so all around us in our whole lives, like in every space we've lived in, that like you and I don't even see it sometimes. Yeah. Like I directed my first documentary this past, it's been a year. It was 1 year ago is when we were actually shooting it. I was like, this past fall, and I'm like, babe, it's fall. Yikes. But I had an amazing collaborator. One of my producers was a boy, and I never like work with boys, but I was like, okay, I'm working with a boy. And he'd pick up on kind of the misogynistic, like things happening. I don't want to say things happening to me, but like situations I'd find myself in where, without like giving too much detail or like putting anyone out, there was some technical thing that was in fact wrong. And I kept saying like, it's wrong. Like I know this is true. And people like wouldn't believe me or like wouldn't really hear me, wouldn't listen to me. And like, we had to go through maybe an hour or an hour and a half of time wasted at the 11th hour, proving that I was in fact right and it was in fact wrong, instead of just fixing it. And I'm so used to like fighting for everything. I didn't even see it. And like, I was frustrated and I was like emotional, I'm sure. And, you know, once I proved it was wrong after an hour and a half wasted, we did fix it and like, it was fine. But when we left and we had a private moment, me and the producer, he was like, you know, like, I don't think that would have happened if you weren't a woman. He was like, I don't think they would have doubted you to the extreme that they did. And I've certainly never thought of that way, because I don't like move through the world being like, oh, if I wasn't a woman like this or like that, like I just keep going. But it really sat with me that like he realized no one would act that way towards him. So it is all around us. I mean, I'm sure you experience the same kind of thing.
I totally agree. I think it's just the more even I talk about it and the more I like want to be aware of it, the more I realize that it's just part of what is. Like we're going to continue to make changes and progressions, especially in the industry, but like innately, like just the way people grow, it's like not even stereotypes, but just like things exist in the ether and they've been that way for so long. Like you can only rewrite the system so much, it's always going to be there a little bit, and which is unfortunate. And hopefully in time things do change or that becomes a part of the past. But like, yeah, it's so interesting. I heard another girl on the podcast say such a similar thing. Like we had a DP on and she literally said the same thing. She's like, I don't have time to waste on this, but here we are fighting this. And if it's like, you can't help but like wonder, it's like, if a guy had just said that, would we just have like moved on? It is interesting.
Yeah, I can't, the amount that women are second guessed or doubted. And I mean, my mom is a lawyer and I see it happen all the time, like in her work, and also not just her work, but like, she basically became the general contractor of our house when we redid it. And like even seeing her like have to argue that everything she said was true. I was like, why are we so doubted? Like, why would it not be true just because we said it? Like,
right. Well, it's equally as true as it could not be true. So it feels like we're given an 80 when it should be a 50-50. Like,
yeah.
So like, I hope that's the thing in the industry that continues to change, is that like thoughts of others are going to be taken as seriously as thoughts of anyone else in the room.
I can only hope, because this shit is exhausting.
It is exhausting.
It's getting really old.
So let's talk about your short film, Wannabe, which could not be a freaking better fit for this podcast. So I got to watch it. It was meant to be. We love this idea of the Wannabe. Obviously, so in line with this. A lot happens in this film, and I'm super obsessed with the style. Again, it's so like, to me, it is 2022 TikTok with cheetah girls directed by a female. Like, it is just giving me all the things that like I'm in my life obsessed with, which is like wanting to get into an entertainment industry, a great style, and like female team. So like, where did your inspiration come through this?
Well, it's been an interesting journey with Wannabe, because the heart of the film and the theme of sexual assault is sadly based on like real experiences. But I, as you know, my style, like I make teen movies, like I make like chick flick comedy. So I was like, oh, how the fuck am I going to make like a sexual assault movie? Because I knew I really want to make it. And it's funny that like when I thought of what the story would look like or like should look like, I was like, that felt inauthentic to me as a filmmaker, even though it's like a literal authentic story from my life. So I was like, that's so strange. And I think when I started pitching it to people, I was like, oh, well, it's like the Cheetah Girls, but like with rape, they'd be like, that makes they're like, that makes no fucking sense. So right. It's not going to work. And I think, I ultimately kind of took a risk with this, and I just decided like, I'm just like, there are no rules. Like, I'm just gonna make this like the way I want to make it. And so the first part of the film is almost like a misdirect, to be honest. It's like, we set up what you think is a teen movie and reveals itself to be a completely different beast. And, I honestly had no idea what was going to happen with this, because it's so strange. Like, it doesn't fit in a box. But I also think I don't really fit in a box. Like you said, it's like my style and like my stories. Like you can't really categorize them in one genre. And honestly, I did not have high hopes for that. I had high hopes for just like, I'm going to make the fucking movie I want to make, but I did not have high hopes for festivals, because first of all, teen movies don't go to festivals, and definitely not like teen movies that like are not really teen movies.
Right.
So I was like, you know what, I'm making this one for me, and like whatever happens, happens. And I've actually been pleasantly surprised. We opened at LA Shorts and we're playing Nashville at the end of the month. So yeah, I'm glad I just like did what the fuck I wanted to do.
No, it's so true, because it's like the things that like, you know, we don't think fit in a way or whatnot. Like if we just fake them, it turns out like it actually fits perfectly. And like, I mean, it is so relatable, not to give away like the beast of the thing, but like what the main character goes through, I think is what a lot of women in the industry have had to consider, like which thing do you want more? And sometimes like it's a tough turn. And even if you haven't been through the situations, I don't think you can look at it and not think like, maybe I would do X or I would do Z. Like you can't not look at it and have a thought of maybe I would. So it is such an important film for the industry and anyone outside of the industry.
No, it's so true. I think also what people forget is like women don't exist in vacuums. Like it's the decision, you know, what do I want more, but also like, who else does this affect? Like me choosing A, me choosing B. And, you know, we have like friends, we have parents, we have daughters, we have sisters, like we have all these other people that are relying on us to like show up and behave a certain way to like keep their lives in check too, in so many ways. And so, yeah, I loved kind of the female friendship aspect of this as well, because I love my girls.
Love the girls.
Yeah.
So this is a whole complete other podcast, but can you give like the audience a few like peeks into like what goes in behind the scenes of like production, pre-production, post-production for a director? Because like, I think, again, we think movies just like up here and it's like, no, hours.
Well, I'm learning more about this every day, because every time I think I know how to make a movie, I learn I don't. I learn all kinds of new things. But with this, I'll use this movie as an example. We were the first production back at USC after COVID, like the first in-person production back. And so for a long time, it was like, are we making it? Are we not making it? Are we making it? Are we not making it? We'd like put a soft hold on this, put a soft hold on that. But basically,
so real to the industry.
Yeah. You gather the team, and that's an important part, picking your collaborators. And then you very carefully build like the jigsaw puzzle that is your shooting schedule, which this is like more a producing thing. But again, like we're all kind of a team. It's like if you have a night shoot, for instance, it completely messes up the next day because you need the 12-hour turnaround for SAG. And so it's like, it's placing all these little things, and then this location will only be available this day. And then this will cost more than you have. So you have to like figure out how to make this scene happen in one day instead of like a 2-day shoot. And you're just kind of doing all these building blocks. And with this particular thing, we shot at the Viper Room before it closed on Sunset. Which was very cool and very like old LA grunge. But we only could shoot at the Viper Room for the main room, since backstage doesn't actually exist. And then we built backstage on stage at USC. So everything you see in the movie is actually like a sound stage. And this was our first time, like all of us as a team, our first time building anything. And so literally after shooting, like I would be in there, like painting the walls with like my boyfriend, who's forced labor. He just becomes a PA when I need him to. He's in there like painting all day, like not in film at all. And so many of us and our significant others actually like showed up and helped out. And so just so many. And then once you have the sets, like they're empty sets, you have to fill them with life and like all kinds of things that people would never think of, and I'd certainly never think of. I had an amazing production designer, Colin Sheehan, who I grew up with on my same block. And then we went to USC together. And it was interesting working with him because I don't have to communicate anything for him to know what I want, because we've had so many shared experiences. So like we did shows together growing up, and I was like, oh, this is the dressing room. Like he knew how to make a dressing room look like I thought a dressing room looked like, because we've been in the same dressing room.
He knows your style, your vibe, your tone. He knows you. I mean,
he knows me. And when I imagine something, like I almost always know we're imagining the same thing. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I had to find a DP 14 days before production. And that was really crazy. And I got connected with Luke Sargent, who ended up shooting this, and we didn't know each other at all. And like, I had no idea kind of like how it was going to go. Like I knew it was talented, but I didn't really know yet how we'd work together. And I was sending him just like masses of photos. Like every day I had like a whole book for this scene. I had like a whole book for this scene. And all night, every night when he'd drive home from work, I'd be like on the phone with him, like just like telling him a million things.
Yeah.
And God bless him. He was like, hey, like, why don't you pick one photo for each scene that you want it to look like? He was like, I know you sent me 100, but he was like, and that really pushed me to decide like what's important. And so again, and he ended up being just such a blessing, because he's so brilliant and so skilled that on a day where we ended up losing a lot of hours, he looked at like my 16 setup shot list and he was like, okay, you can do it in 3. Here we go. And like gave me still the scene I wanted. So collaborators are everything. They're the most important people you'll plug into this. But we shot for 7 days. And then after shooting, we went into editing and post-production, and you always need more time with that than you think you do, because you do like cut after cut after cut. And once you like lock picture, which for non-industry people means like you have to set the shots of the movie before you do any sound things, because it all has to be locked basically. And that's like a scary thing, because you're like, oh my God, it's locked. Like we can't change anymore. And so you lock that, and then it moves on to sound and Foley and ADR and adding music. And it's like the movie is basically reborn again and again and again, and it keeps becoming something different. And then finally it's done, and you send it off into the abyss and hope for the best.
Oh, so you don't just get to like show up and like then you just don't, and then you just have a movie, right? Like that's just how it works. No.
Shockingly, no. That is what I keep thinking. I'm praying for the day that finally comes, where I just show up on set and it's done.
Me too. I took a film class at my acting studio, and I've never forgotten this, that my teacher said, he's like, you make a film in pre-production, you make a different film when you're filming, and it's a totally different film in post. And I'm like, yep, that's so true.
I think the hardest part too is after you see that like first assembly cut, being like, oh, okay, this is the movie I actually shot. And like, you have to throw out the script that you wrote and that you thought you were shooting. Right. You have to be like, so this is the actual footage. Like this is what it really is. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's what we have. You have such an amazing style. I, again, can't say enough about how much I've loved to watch your style grow. Like, can you give some advice to the audience about what it's like to evolve your artistic style?
I'm trying to think. It's hard because like, I don't even notice styles evolving, because I feel like our style is just kind of like who we are in that moment. It's kind of like where we are culturally, even if we don't notice that, that's probably subconscious, and kind of everything we're consuming. And so I already know like my next movie is going to look so different from Wannabe, because I'll be like an older, different person then. And so it's just like, but definitely looking to movies helps. But I think what helps the most is looking to other forms of art or other just like aspects of life. Like I'm not a Tumblr gal. I missed that part, but I like live and die on Pinterest, like eat, breathe, live, sleep Pinterest. And I feel like this is dumb, but like the more time I spend kind of curating a board, the better the AI gets at like showing me other images like it. And so, yeah, when I'm in any phase of the movie, even when I'm writing the movie, I'm like on Pinterest when I'm in between writing, like just looking for images that kind of can inspire where this film really is inside you, and kind of like where you want to take it. What was it like directing your first short and kind of finding that?
Wild. Well, I mean, so I had like, talk about being a control freak. I had like a very specific, I didn't write it, a friend did. It was like there was no mood board, but I knew what I wanted and that's what I wanted. And I was going to get that. But again, then we get home and it looks a little different, even though like the style really came out very well. But like, yeah, directing that first short, I don't know. I had such a good team because I know them all. They're all actor friends, like, you know, who get together to make a film. So like, it wasn't really supportive, collaborative space for like me to be like, I really want this, or I want to try to make this happen. And I was really attached to the meaning. So on some level, it feels like everything you have is like you already have it. And then I kind of feel like it's like I'm a Pinterest board. And like, the more I pinpoint things I want, the better those things will be curated for me. Like, that's how I literally feel about pulling together any kind of shoot. Like the Pinterest board is my inspiration, but like the algorithm, even though I use Pinterest boards for every character I develop too. So I am huge into that. Yeah.
I love that. Oh my God. I never did that when I was acting, but that's such a brilliant idea to kind of like get in their head that way and get in their world.
Yeah. Like, I want to see what that vibe looks like. And I kind of feel like then you're watching it you're looking at as the audience, but then you can understand the tone. I mean, it's the same with, I know a lot of actors curate playlists too, which is something I'm totally going to do, but yeah, I love
I've been doing that too with the playlist. It's a little more abstract and like, well, how does that show up on screen? But
right.
I don't know. Like, it just like, it gives you the vibe. And yeah, on set, I feel like we were playing all that. It was like Olivia Rodrigo, Good For You. It was obviously like Spice Girls. It was like Britney, Hit Me Baby One More Time. Like, just good vibes, just put you in the mood.
In the tone. It gets in that tone of like where we want to be playing. And I think that was what was so important to me about directing that. I was like, we have a very certain tone. Like Heat Waves is the tone, like by Glass Animal. Like, that is the
tone. That song.
Right.
That's
me
good.
too. And so it's like, if you say that to people, suddenly everybody gets what that means. Just like how if you play Olivia Rodrigo and Britney Spears and Spice Girls, we all know that tone is not Heat Waves. Like, they're two different. Like, that's this tone. Like, you know, it's very interesting. So, you know, absolutely. I love it. Well, Josie, if I can indulge you to leave us with some inspiration for us entertainment wannabes.
Absolutely. I'm an eternal entertainment wannabe from age like 2 to right now. And I think, kind of echoing what we were talking about later, just wait it out. Like, if it will find you, if you just keep showing up every day and keep redefining success, you will reach success. There's no doubt in my mind about that for all of us. And yeah, I mean, the longer you wait, it's eventually going to happen is what I keep telling myself. So.
Me too. I mean, it's a long game. Entertainment is a long game. It is not a get rich quick thing. And if it is for you, that one shot, that was it. There might not be a second. So
exactly.
Josie Andrews, you are such a pleasure. Can you tell everybody where we can find you, find your work, plug yourself out?
Oh my God. Thank you so much for having me. Seriously, this was soul feeding talking to you. Well, you can find me on Instagram. I'm that Josie Andrews, which everyone makes fun of, but I love it. And you can see Wannabe screening in Beverly Hills, Saturday, September 24th at the Fine Arts Theater. The New York premiere is Sunday, September 25th on the Lower East Side at the Regal Essex Crossing. And then we're playing Nashville at the, Bell Court. It's Bell Court. I always want to say Belfast. Nashville at the Bell Court. Nashville at the Bell Court Theater on opening day of the Nashville Film Festival, Thursday, September 29th.
I love it. Josie, thank you so much for being here.
For having me. This is awesome.
Oh my gosh. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next Tuesday.